market changes dramatically. We have to turn our stuff in 6-8 months ahead of time. And I think we all know that our market has changed in the last 6 or 8 months, right? Yes. And so that evens the playing field. The evens the playing field with one. You guys don't know what I want to say. And quite frankly, neither do I. So let's have fun with it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And we'll get started.
Welcome to day 3 of NADA Show 2023. Backed by popular demand, the Dealer Learning Lab and EV Solution Center brings education right to the show floor and connects you with industry experts. Visit the Dealer Learning Lab in booth 3411, where you can catch quick 20-minute sessions on hot topics every hour while the expo is open. Then head to the EV Solution Center, located in booth 7031, to get your EV questions answered. Connect one-on-one with experts and attend mini educational sessions. But first, enjoy your workshop. Don't forget to use the NADA Show mobile app to take notes and access workshop handouts and PowerPoints even after you leave. Use the app to tell NADA what you think. Log in after the workshop. Complete an evaluation. Claim your CE credits. Look for an email after the show to claim your credits and print your certificate. Please silence all mobile devices. No photographs or video recordings are allowed. Get ready. Your workshop is about to begin.
I'm gonna pace the floor a bit, so I'm gonna use the mic. I know you guys can probably hear me in here, but there is an overflow room. We need to make sure they can hear us as well. The NAD reached out to me about 8 months ago and said, we want you to do a workshop on service leadership. And my response to them was, there is no such thing as service leadership. Leadership is the same, no matter what department you're in or industry that you're in. It's connecting with your people and bringing the best out of them. I'm Ed Roberts, COO of Ozark Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine, Florida. Again, thank you for sharing some of your time with me this morning. I think there's probably a few other things you could have found to do in Dallas, but you chose to spend it here with me, so thank you for that. And we have a lot of people that tour our store for various different reasons. We have different development programs or mobile service store. We've had significant growth over the last 10, 12 years. So a lot of people come in and they visit our store and they ask over and over and over again, what is the one thing that made the biggest difference? And I think everybody in this room probably knows there is no silver bullet. There isn't no one thing. But everybody continues to search for that silver bullet. If I can just do this, if I can just do that. Well, that doesn't necessarily get us anywhere. Leading your team is doing tons of little things over and over and over again, creating consistency. And any one of those things alone doesn't make much difference at all. But all those things combined together can make a profound difference. I want to lay the foundation of who we are as a store. We are a store that 10, 12 years ago was 42 employees. Today we dance around 320, 321. Significant growth in sales, significant growth parts and service, significant growth geographically from what it was 15 years ago to what we are today. And we do it from an experience standpoint as well. Because if you take care of your people will take care of your customers. And then it turns to profit. And the profit is the report card for how you're doing the other things. A lot of times we look at how do I get to the bottom line first. There's a lot that has to go in before you get the grade. You can't show up to college first day and walk out of there with your whatever you're seeking for the class, whether it be a 4.0 or 3.0, you have to earn it. Same way with business. We have to earn what's on the bottom line. So this slide talks about what our day looks like. It'll carry into the other slides that I have in front of us. I won't bore you with a bunch of slides. I think I have 5 total, because there's not a whole lot you can learn from what shows up on the screen, but a lot of things that you can learn from what you can take back and do with your people. But a lot of times, so what I want you to get out of this class, and hopefully you will, is something to take back to make you a better leader to your team. And if you do that, then your team becomes better. When your team becomes better, we all win. And we win as an industry as well. This is an industry that does not have the greatest rep. But it's up to us to change that, because we're the ones driving it. So we can cast blame, or we can look in the mirror and say, I'm gonna do my part. If we all do our part, we can make a difference. So I ask my team a lot, I'm gonna ask you guys, are you busy when you go to work? Or are you effective? And a lot of times we get bogged down in the day-to-day activities, minutia, whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the day, we feel like we didn't get nothing done. When you are doing things throughout the day, ask yourself, are you the best person for that? Because most likely, if you're doing things that your team should be doing, you're not helping them grow. And if you're not helping them grow, they're not helping you grow. But in order for you to be effective, you have to have a plan to start your day with. And that plan could be a to-do list. It could be any number of things. But an idea of some type of action that you want to take that day. Whether it's meeting with somebody, whether it's interviewing somebody, whether it's getting somebody onboarded. But if you come in without a purpose, without a plan, chances are you're going to end up being busy and not effective. And that sounds, maybe that sinks in instantly, maybe it doesn't. But if I come to you and say, what are you trying to get done today? And if you can't answer that question in 5 seconds, you don't have a plan for the day. I can ask you the same thing right now. And if somebody can chime in, what is the one thing that you guys want to get out of NADA this year? Did you come here looking for something? You spent a lot of money to be here. Do you have a plan? And maybe you just want to see the things that show up. Maybe you want to meet new people. Maybe you want to network. But if you came here with a purpose and you did some of those other things, then you brought additional value to coming here. And it's the same thing with starting our day at work. It's the same thing with our people. Because if you do it, then it's easier to get them to do it. We all talk about KPIs, and a lot of times we lead in our office looking at KPIs and bringing people in that isn't necessarily measuring up there. But have we set the expectation of what we want them to be? In sports, and I use a lot of sports analogy, in sports you got a scoreboard. So it's pretty easy to see where you're at. Whether you're ahead, whether you're behind, whether you're tied, whether you have got the ball moving yet or not. We need to make sure that all of our people have a scorecard. At least know what the desired results are. There's a reason why there's a quarterback rating. The job's still the same. That's how they measure how they did the job. We have to have a way to measure our people and how they do their job. Are you instilling the vision of the company, of your company, with your team? If we're not, they're not pushing in the same direction as well. And when our team aren't pushing in the same direction, we end up with chaos. And a way to determine whether you end up in chaos, if your next door neighbor calls you and says, I need a car, or my check engine light's on. If you have to tell that person what person to go see when they get to the dealership, you don't have confidence in your team. They should be able to show up and see anybody they come in contact with and be able to call and tell you how well your team took care of it. But in order for that to happen, we have to have everybody pushing in the same direction. and have everybody push in the same direction. We need to share our vision, our values, and our goals with them. So ask yourself, and you're gonna hear me say this 20 more times probably, when you get back to the office on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever you get back, are you busy or are you effective? And when you get good at making yourself effective, then you start pushing that down to your team. Are they busy or are they effective? As you start to do that, we may have to move some people around. The car business, this industry, forever would do merit promotions. He's been here the longest, he's the next man up. And it doesn't necessarily make them the best person for that job. Going back to a sports analogy. I'm not gonna take a quarterback and make a linebacker out of it. I'm gonna figure out his strengths and build the role around him. And when we do those things, everybody has strengths, everybody. It's up to us to connect with them and find out what those are. So when I say assemble the right team, I'm not saying go back and clean house. I'm saying put people in the right positions. Because that best salesperson doesn't always make the best sales manager. That best service advisor doesn't always make the best service manager. Because those are roles of doing a task. Managers are roles of leading people. It's two totally different jobs. Maybe capable of learning it, that's up to us to find out if they are. And we have to connect with our team. When we connect with them, we understand what their why is. And I'll give you a couple examples on that. A lot of times, when you walk up, oh, here's it. And they got a little code word that goes out to everybody. Here's Jeff, or here's whoever that's walking through. And if people change what they're doing in your presence, you haven't found a way to connect with them. Let's talk about that for a minute. My why is my family. There is not an individual at your store that their why is that job. That is the enabler of the why. Their why is something outside of there, whether it's their hobby, whether it's their family, whether it's themselves. What we offer them is the enabler for their why. And we have to find ways to enhance that. So let me give you an example. Let's look at it from a technician standpoint. Service advisor's got a job that has to go out today. It's got to be done by 5 o'clock. Johnny's working on it. And Johnny can probably get it done if he works till 5 o'clock. It's doable. But Johnny's kid's got a football game. All of a sudden, Johnny's not feeling well. About 3 o'clock, ate something bad for lunch. And it happens over and over and over again. My daughter played lacrosse in high school. The only time I missed one of her games, when I was sitting in front of a very similar crowd like this last year. It's the only high school game I missed. Outside of that, I was at every single one of them. I didn't touch somebody that ate something bad for lunch. The stage was set long beforehand. So how many of you people do you truly know what their why is? Because when you connect with people and you learn what their why is, the opportunities are endless. I don't have to go out and try to find the top salesman down the street. I don't have to go out and run all the ads to hire all the techs from the other stores around us. I don't have to go steal advisors from down the street. People wait 2 years to come to work for us in a lot of cases. Imagine what your business would look like if you had people waiting 2 years to come in. Because when you connect with them, they connect with you, and they tell everybody. And what's our best form of advertisement? Word of mouth. And it's not just the product of our business that it's word of mouth. It's the product of how we treat our people in our business. And when you have a 2-year wait to come to work, now you're not waiting to see if someone can fog a mirror. You can be selective. And you can hire the right people to put on the team. For us, we hire on 3 C's. I'm not telling anybody in here you need to have 3 C's, you need to have whatever. You need to have a purpose of why you hired somebody. You need to have something that when somebody comes up to you and says, "Why did you hire Johnny?" You gotta be able to give that reason. Not that, well, he's been a technician for 10 years. That's not good enough. What can he do to contribute to the team? What can he do that makes the team better? So for us, it's character, chemistry, and competency. We sell Fords and Lincolns, new, and everything else used, but we don't advertise Ford or advertise Lincoln. Our brand is Bozard. So from the character standpoint, and it's a judgment call, but you ask the right questions, you can figure out the right answers. You can figure out the answers most of the time. You can figure out whether they're being honest with you or not. Character is something, do I want them carrying our brand around on their shirt? Do I want them representing us? Chemistry is the piece, what can they bring to the team? They should be able to bring something that makes the team better. And you should be able to identify that in the interview process. And if we're not, we have some opportunity in front of us. Nothing wrong with not being there yet. That just means we have opportunity. Everybody in my store hears me a lot. We all have strengths. I told you earlier, everybody has strengths. And we say we got a lot of weaknesses too. But I don't look at them at that. They're all opportunities. And when you pair people with the opposing strengths together, you'd be amazed at what they can accomplish. Because now this one's picking up the stuff that they're not good at, and that one's picking up the stuff that this one's not good at. So you have to understand how can they contribute to the team? How can they make us better? That's the chemistry piece. The competency, for us, is probably different than most. We have a lot of development programs within our store, and this year we're creating Bozard University inside of our store to be able to enhance the learning process of all of our people that will move to a different position. But the competency piece for us is, are they trainable? The competency piece for you may be, can they do the job? But really, we need to know if they're trainable, because if they're already competent to do the job, they're leaving somebody to come to you, and they're probably bringing some elements that wasn't accepted somewhere else. So we've got to build retrain them, because we want them to carry the brand. And in order for them to carry the brand effectively, they got to carry the same vision, values, and goals, and know what their scorecard is. When you learn their strengths and opportunities, it goes back to someone on the right team. They're feeding off of each other. And we can set a goal that I want you to do this. I want you to sell 12 cars a month. Okay? You sell 9 cars in January. Dude, I told you I want you to sell 12 cars a month. Well, you didn't tell me what month. You just told me you want me to sell 12 cars. I'm getting there, boss. Don't worry about it. I got you. We got to make them time bound. Again, you go back to sports. The clock tells you how much time it is. It's time bound, every single time. When it clicks 3 zeros, as long as it's not tied, it's over. Now we have constructed one-on-ones, because what I want you to do is coach your team rather than counsel with your team. We talk about being proactive versus reactive. There ain't nothing about counseling being proactive. Coaching is preparing them to do the job that you need them to do. Now you're being proactive. Because more times than not, when you have to step on somebody's toes for not doing their job effectively, it's because we haven't put them in a position to be able to do that job effectively. It's our fault. We haven't trained them properly, or we put them in a role that doesn't necessarily fit them. We've all been in dealers where we've moved somebody into a service advisor role from another, and they failed, we lost a good employee. Same thing happens in the sales side. We move a great salesperson to the sales desk. They don't want to go backwards in front of their peers, so they don't lose a good employee. That was our fault from the beginning. We didn't recognize that they couldn't be a leader. And because they was good at the skilled job that we gave them a leadership role, and they failed at it. And if we're going to do those things, we have to make sure that we give them the tools that they need, because someone can make that switch. But they might need the path to get there. Then we have to empower them. We built the teams. In order for us to be effective versus busy, we have to empower them. Because if you're at lunch and your phone is blowing up because they got a customer in the room, they need an answer, we haven't empowered them. And what we've done is we've stopped that transaction. And what we've demonstrated to the customer is the person that they talk to is just somebody going through the motions. But if that ball keeps rolling, now we're building rapport. The customer feels like they're with somebody that can be effective for them. And your phones, you can enjoy lunch. Empowerment is the missing ingredient in people development. And sometimes you can just say, make the right decision. But sometimes you might need to lead them a bit. What do you think you should do? It's easy to give them the answer. But ask them, what do you think you should do? Because they already have more information than you do. They're just giving you the high points. And then we react and give them an answer. But reality is they already have all the information. And just ask them, what do you think you should do? Okay, why are you calling me? Sounds like the right thing to do to me. Next thing you know, it's happening automatically. They're not blowing our phone up. They're making the decision going forward. And there's the fear, oh my God, what if they do this? We've won so many times already by empowering them. In the instance that they make a mistake, it's okay. Because you know what? We've made mistakes too. We gave them bad advice. So sometimes they're going to do it too. But that's okay. Then we go back, that's a coaching moment. Now we're growing that person, we're developing that person. And what I'm trying to do is paint a picture that takes things off of your plate. And when you take those coaching moments, those mistakes, and make them a coaching moment rather than a beat down session. Because when you beat somebody down, everybody talks to somebody, so they're going to go out of your office and go, I don't know why I'm putting up with this. Spend your time looking on the computer, seeing if there's anybody else out there looking for their role, and then maybe 2 or 3 hours later start getting engaged and going back again. We really lost there. Everybody they're tied to, and us. If we take it and make it a coaching moment, hey, this is how we could have done that differently. But now you've broadened their skill set to make the right decisions going forward. And when they make the decision, they have ownership. Every one of us in here has made a decision for somebody and said, go do this. and then it blew up, because we're not perfect either. Whatever we did, it blew up. What do they say? Ed told me to do it. How much ownership's in that? But if we empower them, and they make their own decision, and we coach them through it, the next decision's better. The next one after that's better. The next one after that's better. And I hope that you start to see the picture of how you can grow a company from 40 employees to over 500 on the ground earning a paycheck with the other businesses that we've added since then. But over 40 in the dealership world to 320. From 7 technicians to nearly 100 technicians. From 4 salespeople, maybe 5 salespeople, to over 40 today. The only way you can do that is to take things off your plate and make yourself available to be able to coach them. Because in any type of leadership role, the toughest thing to learn is the art of delegation. And these slides are 8 months old, so I don't know if I would delegate the slide in here or not. Hey, okay, delegate. We all have the capacity. We can all only handle so much. And if you are a command and control person, or you have command and control people on your team, they can only handle what their mental capacity allows them to handle. But if we push things down, we continue to push things down, and all we got to do every time we're doing something, am I the best person to do this? Who can I train to do this? Now all of a sudden, you have time to continue to grow and elevate your game. And as you elevate your game, your team buys in more and more and are becoming more effective rather than just being busy. When we're busy, we go home thinking, man, I get nothing done today. But you're frazzled. You can't wait to go pour a drink. When you go home effective, you can't wait to tell somebody about it. Here's what made happen today. As we delegate and empower others to do things, they take more pride in what they're doing, and we have time to innovate and find ways to meet customers at their level, whether it's with mobile service, whether it's remote deliveries, whether it's pickup and delivery. We got ways to do things. We say, we can't do that. I can't even do it right here. These things all sound very simple, but I assure you, if you ask yourself every day, am I busy? Am I effective? And then you start giving yourself a task that you want to get done every single day, start compounding itself. Because there's going to be days that you're not going to get anything done that you need to get done. But 3 times a week you are. You made progress. Next week, I get 4 things done. You made progress. A year goes by, you're a different story. Because if we're not changing constantly, we're backing up. We just talked about the market's totally different than what it was 6 months ago. Are we totally different as a business to meet that market? We have to work every day to do that. And if we're command and control, we don't have the time to do that. We don't have time to see that the market changed. That's when we're having a fire sale because we held on to everything too long, let the market change further than where we could have backed out of it. But if we push things down, we have time to see what the market's doing. Shop the market. Find different ways to go to market. And I'm not saying mobile's for everybody or pickup deliveries for everybody or remote deliveries is for everybody. But I will tell you this. Amazon's for everybody. And if Amazon's for everybody, they might go to a locker and pick their stuff up, but they're not going to a store. If that's where our customers want to do business, we need to find ways to do business with them that way. But find what your customers want. Connect with your customers. But connect with other people now. Now they're connecting with their customers. and you should be connecting with them as well. And we can figure out what the market is demanding. I've been in the car business for over 30 years now. And the day I got in the car business, we had a shortage of technicians. 30 years later, do we still have a shortage of technicians? And reality is, most of the ones that was doing it when I got in this business isn't doing it anymore. So we're not feeding the pipeline at the rate that we need them. And if we're talking about needing technicians 30 years from now, that's probably on our part. We have to make it enticing. We'll talk about generational differences for a minute. Baby boomers, it was very common for them to come into the workplace, find a job, and work there forever. If they got a retirement program, they may retire and go do a second job and retire from it. Now let's go to the other side, Gen Zs. We got X's and millennials in between. But millennials have got all the conversation over the last couple of years. Now Z's are in workforce and get some of the conversation. And what they want is flexibility and opportunities. They want to know they can work towards that next position. And if we don't give them those opportunities, then they leave. Now, we may give them those opportunities and they not chase them. But as long as we give them those opportunities, they don't have to chase them. They'll continue to do what they're doing and some of them move. But as soon as they don't know what tomorrow looks like, as soon as they don't know, none of them plans. I can assure you, I don't care how much time you spend training them, none of them plans. No, there's not a Gen Z in my shop, in my store, or in this room that plans to be doing the same role that they're doing 30 years from now they're doing today. They don't look at it that way. They look at it as, what can I keep doing? What can I keep? And so that's why you gotta have those elements of training. I mentioned Beaux-Arts University earlier. I want our people to have the ability to look out and see other things they can do within our store rather than look outside of our store and find things to do. And if we create those programs, then we can create technicians. And we can feed the industry. I didn't go pillage all the stores around us to go from 8 or 7 technicians to nearly 100. We grew them. And almost 70% of our technicians is 30 or less. Run that through your mind and ask you what your shop looks like. We're planning for tomorrow. And with that, with growing those technicians, they might go into a different role 2 years from now. But I didn't have to run an ad and hire them and retrain them. They already built rapport with everybody around them. They help them in that next role. I'll give you a quick story. Steven started with me 5 years ago as a technician. Became a team leader. Became a service advisor. Now is in his 3rd full month as a salesperson. And his first full month, he's number 2, almost was salesman of the month. How did that happen? One, we would think, I can't let him out of the shop, he's too valuable to me there. Well, if you can't let him out of the shop because he's too valuable to you there, you're gonna let him out of the shop to compete against him somewhere else. You gotta give him those opportunities, and he's one of them. But what he's done is he's connected with the shop and he's a technician. He's connected with the advisors and he's a service advisor. So he had a book of business going in the sales department and never sold a car before. And he worked his book of business. And took ups along the way and followed the process. And I asked him, what has made you be successful instantly as a salesperson? He says, exactly what we learned in service. Follow the process, be consistent with it, and follow up with your customers. Give you another example of it. Today, last Tuesday, someone came to our store and I introduced Steve to him. His story to them was, I just sold a King Ranch Explorer last night to a guy that's been looking for one. Here's what typically happens in this scenario, and I'll tell you what happens in that. We've all had a shortage of inventory. A customer in this room that's experienced it a few times. They send me a text, say, hey, I want this vehicle. His next reply is, it's sold. He'd send me another one. Hey, I want this vehicle. The next reply is, it's sold. He finally ended up picking one up from us, and thank you for that. But a customer came in, dead set on King Ranch Explorer. Most of our salespeople tell them, we don't have one. Good luck finding one. See you later. All right? Talked to him about ordering it. Didn't want to order. He was going to find one. Steve took his information down and called him every single day. I don't have one. I don't have one. I'm still looking for you. I haven't forgot about you. One came in last night. Do you want it? And he came and bought it. That guy won't let us down. We gave him opportunities that he feels like he wouldn't have got anywhere else. That's the guy that's going to work for me for 30 years. And he may not be a salesperson in 30 years, but he's going to be working there. That's connecting with other people, giving them opportunities to grow. And to become the employer of choice. When you become the employer of choice, some of you guys are dealers in this room. The main thing that holds you back from buying additional dealers in most cases is people. A lot of people run, right? When you become the employer of choice, and you've got a waiting list of 2 years long for certain positions for people to come there, it's a lot easier to get the right people. And we don't have to run ads to do that. That makes growth seemingly easy. It's a lot more effort to put in there, but it's seemingly easy to do that. The BEVs is a whole new opportunity for us. We talked about the shortage of technicians. And yes, we do have a shortage of technicians. And they've been looked at as being grease monkeys and whatever else forever. But guess what? BEVs is 80% less moving parts than a nice vehicle. It's not a grease monkey job anymore. It's a computer with a body and a battery. Now we go find those gamers, those techie guys. Those are tomorrow's technicians. So we've got to find a new way to go out and find new people. And please, if you take anything from this, quit asking the manufacturer to find you technicians. We don't ask them to find us salespeople. We don't ask them to find us test managers. We don't ask for any of that, but we ask them, go find us technicians. I need some technicians. I need 5 master techs. They're not going to find them for you. It's not their business. They sold you the franchise. When we do those things, like with Steve, selling a King Ranch Explorer, they celebrate those victories. People repeat what they get recognized for over and over again. And if we're coaching, counseling, chances are we're recognizing them for doing some of the right things. Even though we may have to redirect them a little bit, they did the right thing, you made the right decision, you just probably could have done this and the whole outcome would have been different. So I appreciate you doing that, rather than you're a freaking idiot. So all these are little bitty changes in who we are as leaders of our stores and our departments that makes a huge difference with how our people react to us. Because I want to paint a little bit another picture of who we are at Bozar. I'm in a city that has less than 20,000 people in it. I'm in a county that has less than 200,000, right around that 200,000 mark. And we're the #1 service center in the Florida country. We're a top 20 Ford store. We're a top 20 Lincoln store. We should not do it in that market. The reason why we can do it is because of our people. now I'll paint a clear picture for you. Where does our people come from? We didn't go out and hire the best around the country. They came from our surrounding area. You have those same people in your neighborhood. We have to help develop them. And you can't develop them if you hang on to command and control. We have to let go of command and control, push things down, and be effective. My GM is in the room, and he'll tell you that he hasn't logged into our DMS in 12 years. How many of you guys can say that? He does a phenomenal job pushing things downhill. Not recommending that you take that approach. But I want you to have the vision to get there. But that's his victory. And we celebrate it often. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I'll pry it out of you if you don't. There we go. I think you might need the mic because there is another room and they're recording this, so that's my ground now.
Great session, thank you. My question is regarding the university. I know it's a big question. Can you tell us a little bit more about how it looks and the path and the duration? And I think that's a wonderful initiative, so I'm curious for more details.
We started the tech development program at the end of 2015, September 2015. And when we started it, it was a night shift. So I'm gonna lead a little bit there. By December 15, it looked totally different than what it did in September. And a year later, it looked totally different again. 8 years later, it looks totally different than it did 10 times ago. So what Ozark University looks like today isn't going to look the same by the end of the year. It's very much in the development phase. We grow our own advisors, we grow our own technicians. Our TDP program, our tech development program, does not have any identity to it. If I tell you I have a TDP program, you think, what the heck is that? I'll tell you that Ozark University has identity. So those elements we're rebranding to Ozark University, and then we're adding other elements to it. That can help our guys brand themselves. Leadership. I hold leadership class 3 days a week. It's 20 minutes long. It's making our people better. That's part of it. How do I have some kind of curriculum to create salespeople so that more people like Steve can come from the shop? Because sometimes people are under their hood all day long and they're a laborer. They don't have self-worth within themselves, so they need an opportunity to grow and be another do. But a lot of times when they step out there, they think, oh, that's not for me. Well, they can find those things out in the training program. So the elements of sales, the elements of accounting, some of those things are very much in the development phase right now. But I can assure you we put a deadline on ourselves, time bound, to have it done by first quarter. But what we have done by first quarter won't be the same by fourth quarter. So start with something. Hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions? I'm not gonna let you out of here that quick. Somebody's got to have questions.
And why are so few fixed ops directors, why do so few of them end up being general managers?
Do you want the crowd to say? We are a fixed ops driven store for sure. But we also focus on the other elements. The main reason why, in my opinion, this will be opinionated, the main reason why I think fixed ops guys rarely make it to the variable side is one, we have silos. And they never choose to learn how those elements of that business goes. So it becomes the blame game. Those guys in the sales department, those guys in the sales department. A lot of times there's reasons why those things happen. Sometimes it might not be for the right things, but there's reasons why those things happen, and they don't take the time to learn those things. But additionally to that, on the other side of the fence, there's no glamour in parts and service. The glamour is the franchise. The glamour is pushing product out. The glamour is the sales side. Because you don't know what one RO does for you, but you know what one car sales does for you. So the reason why most dealers, most guys in fixed op roles don't make it there is when they don't learn the role, and two, the dealer looks at it as a byproduct of the opportunity to sell cars, rather than reinforcement to create customers for life. Does that answer your question? Any other questions? I need at least one more.
Mobile service is something that's desired by a lot of customers today, and that's something that you guys have embraced. How are you seeing that growing, and where do you think the EV piece of it's going to fit in, given the fact that there's so much less servicing to do on EVs, and people still look at opportunities as costs as opposed to benefits?
Great question. Our service management staff has an agreement with my owners that once we reach this certain point, fixed ops, that we get more brick and mortar. I'm not necessarily a fan of that, because our customers desire remote services. So our brick and mortar needs to have 4 or 6 tires on it, so that we can go meet our customers at their level. And just about anything that needs to happen on that BEV can happen on a mobile truck. And that we don't have to haul around 10,000 pounds of tools to go work on BEVs. We can haul around a computer. So our mobile truck tomorrow may just be somebody's 4-door sedan. Because BEVs will need software updates. They're gonna need a cabin air filter. And every now and then I may have to roll my mobile tire van out there and change the tires on it. And we can talk about that it has brakes and whatever else, and it's only brakes. Brakes are regenerative. So unless we're in a panic stop, it's not using those brakes until it gets down to 7 miles an hour. And when it gets down to 7 miles an hour, it's not using much of those brakes to stop that vehicle at that point. We're not gonna wear the brakes out. So we're gonna have tires, wiper blades, cabin air filters, software updates, and some kind of component, some kind of modular component that may break occasionally, whether it be a computer or whatever. And if we're gonna force those customers to come into our store, we're not gonna do a good job of retaining that customer for life. I'll paint another picture. We talk about sometimes the focus is on selling a car. We need to make the focus on owning the car. Jonathan Dawson will tell you, the customer spends 14 hours on average researching the vehicle before he buys it. How many of your team members have spent 14 hours learning that vehicle that customer owns? That's why a customer knows more about the vehicle when they come in than we do. Let's take that further. They spent 14 hours researching that vehicle. So the buying experience may be days, maybe a week, maybe hours. Buying experience is very short. The ownership experience, in most cases, lasts years. If you're like me, it lasts about 4 months. But for most of our customers, our ownership experience lasts years. But we spend so much time on the buying experience and no time on the ownership experience. And the ownership experience is what allows us to have customers for life. That answer your question, Paul?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes. Got you. I keep walking back up here because they got a video camera going. I'm trying to help them out with it. So. But I'm a pacer.
So I think I understand your university concept, but how much time do you have your leadership expected to spend with your sales and service teams to better them?
I expect the sales and service team to be involved with leadership development, both like university development and implementation, because I want to push down what they want our people to do. And if they're not involved with teaching them to do that, they can't do it. So they have to be involved with it. We have assigned putting that curriculum together to one person. That's great, she's in the room here. And all of us are helping her with that. But it's not just her and ownership or myself, the GM. It's every department head in the store. They have to believe in it. It's gotta be their content.
What about for your sales and service staff? I believe you probably have a strong accountability for your dealership. How much time are they putting into their people on a weekly basis?
It's ongoing. We have, there's constant one-on-ones, it's effective one-on-ones. When I said I have leadership meetings or 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes long. You can't find time to do those things and you won't grow. You have to develop your people. But I develop them to help them develop people underneath them. What is an effective one-on-one? An effective one-on-one is not a beat-down session. You may have to talk about some things that isn't happening the way it needs to happen. But effective one-on-one is what is the opportunities? What can I help you to get better with? And so by helping my leadership team get better to do that, they can do better one-on-ones with their people.
Thank you.
Mine's off base, you're surprised.
You're all right?
You mentioned Stephen, I'm just curious, number 2 in his first month, do you have any idea how many cars it was?
20 cars.
Outstanding.
Yes. And it isn't just the volume of cars that determines salesman of the month, it's gross, overall gross, volume, and CSI, all rated, added together, lowest number wins. So you can win salesperson of the month with the highest volume. You can also not be salesman of the month, but having the highest volume by double. So, any other questions?
Hi, great information. And this is a follow-up question to Roger Connor's question about why do so few service managers make it into general manager? So in the fixed operations, we look at a GM that only knows sales department, we don't really trust them. A lot of times the service managers say, well, this guy doesn't know anything about service, and why is he meddling in my stuff, right? A lot of times we think that way. Same way, owners, dealer principals look at a service manager, they peg you as a service manager, you only know service. So what can service managers do to increase that trust from the dealer principal, from the owner to be considered for that general manager position and say, well, how can you really prove to them that you do know sales, or that you're worthy to lead the sales department and the service department and parts?
It's finding their why as well, because if you don't connect with them, you're not going to learn what they are better than you at. And I can assure you, my GM will tell you that he's not a fixed ops guy, but we work well together. And I know what his why is, and he knows what my why is. He knew my why from day one. And when we connect with those things, you can emulate what you learn from that person. When you emulate what you learn from that person, it continues to compound. But you have to focus on personal growth. And personal growth will allow you to overcome obstacles. When we come up with an excuse of why we can't do something, you've told yourself there's no way possible for you to do it. But if you tell yourself it's not possible for me not to do it, you're going to find a way to do it. I'm a Jacksonville Jaguar fan. They was down by 27 points 2 weeks ago. They didn't panic. I started marching it down the field and making things happen. They never once said they couldn't do it. So one of the common things that is said at our store, Tony, don't take this the wrong way or anybody else, just how we reference it. Are you Mexican or Mexicant? If you're Mexican, you ain't doing it. If you're Mexican, you'll find a way. Like Tony. Any other questions? Thank you guys for your time. Hopefully you found some value in it.
Bye.